Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us. My name is Lionakis from Lionakis. Our case study is Trajan Elementary School. It's an early 1980s single-story campus-style school of wood construction in Orangevale, California. How many of you know where Orangevale is? Finally, I'm back home in SAC because nobody knew where Orangevale was at our other 4 stops. Well, Orangevale is the orange dot. It's in unincorporated Sacramento County, part of San Juan Unified School District. It's located in Climate Zone 12. We have a Mediterranean climate here. That's a nice way of putting it, I think. Hot, dry summers and warm, wet winters when we're lucky. And highs are over 100 degrees, lows in the 30s typically. And what that means for our school year is that we have both cooling and heating days for a typical school in our region. In contrast to some of the urban elementary schools we saw here, this one is suburban. And one of its noted site characteristics is the Shadow Creek that sits at its south edge. The Shadow Creek is one of the many creeks and tributaries we have in the region that feeds the Sacramento and American River water system, the source of our drinking water. And that becomes very important as we talk about water savings at Trajan today. The original site plan is a campus plan with finger plan classrooms. We focused our analysis on a single classroom of Trajan. And we wanted to demonstrate what the scalability of this approach really could do for schools throughout California. There's more than 300,000 existing classrooms in California, and over 200,000 of those are over 25 years old. So you can see the scalability is really significant when you just look at one classroom at a time. So I mentioned the finger plan classroom. The ubiquitous finger plan classroom buildings of the 50s and 60s were defined by wall-to-wall north-facing glass. But post-energy crisis in the 80s version squished that glass down significantly. And in fact, while it had good orientation, the buildings really reduced the amount of glass that was available for daylighting. So we wanted to propose a keep it simple approach when discussing modernization and renovation work. Why? Well, after our work is complete, the behavior, maintenance, and operations must persist if we're to be successful. This best practices graphic will guide our presentation today with emphasis on 3 priority areas: daylighting, the building envelope, and site water. First, B. B is for behavior. Consider this sort of that no-cost foundation, the first step in changing culture and creating environmental stewardship. Plant a garden, form a green team. You can begin today without even having any plans for modernization. E, we look at as efficiency. You might call this first do no harm. Don't use the energy first. Use passive strategies and best practices that first reduce your demand for water and energy. S is for systems. Systems are the more active strategies that respond to the energy and water needs. Think HVAC, lighting controls, those kinds of things. And finally, T is for transformation. If we assume that B, E, and S can take us to net zero ready, T are those transformational efforts that can take you kind of over the top. Typically, if you were to assign relative dollars, B would be at the very low or lowest cost area, and T would be the higher cost interventions that are going to be the sustainable change we want to see in our existing schools. Good daylighting is one of the important, the biggest bang for the buck classroom decisions we can make in the renovation of existing schools. Its ability to reduce energy loads, to influence student performance, create view opportunities, on and on. It's a really good big bang for the buck, and you've heard a lot about that today. So let's apply our best practices approach to daylighting or natural lighting and related electric lighting for Trajan. Starting today, We can place educational signs like this near the classroom controls to tell the story of daylighting's benefits. Educated users save energy. We love to see students reminding their teachers to turn off the lights. And the students are the ones that are most likely to do that in the classroom environment. But in order to turn off the lights, the daylighting must be good. A daylighting simulation shown here, green and yellow good, blue bad, shows that the relatively small windows at Trajan, it's not enough. The daylighting is limited. But with the simple introduction of 3 north-facing tubular skylights, you can improve the daylighting to desirable levels. We have a local resource here, the California Lighting and Technology Center at UC Davis. Their research has found that simple changing of T8 fluorescents to LEDs with appropriate and monitored controls can save you up to 80% of your energy costs just on the lighting side. Our analysis showed something slightly less than that for this specific classroom, but it's demonstrative of what can be accomplished. Wireless control systems, handheld devices, they kind of keep everyone in the role of monitor of the facilities. So what are the transformational issues in the area of lighting? Are any of you this way right now after 2 hours? They come with the impacts of lighting, access to, color of, on their circadian rhythms of students. Lisa Heschong, founding partner in Heschong Mahone Group, she's out there, she doesn't want me to tell you that, is a Sacramento-based firm that conducted much of the seminal research on daylighting in schools. And she believes that circadian influence and view windows are really the new frontier in lighting research. And I sat down with Lisa and had a short conversation. Well, I had a long conversation, but I cut it down for all of you.
Sleep patterns of children are very different than sleep patterns of adults, and they also migrate over time. Especially adolescents naturally tend to stay up later and get up later and later until they're about 18 to 20 years old, later for boys than for girls. And this has been found true also in other primates and in other mammals. It seems to be part of an evolutionary pattern. So we naturally have, especially our older high school students, getting up later, having late set circadian systems. And the one thing that could really, really help them is more exposure to daylight early in the morning. More physical activity, more exposure to the outdoors, more daylight helps to reset that circadian clock and reduce the drift that we see so much in adolescent students. Putting PE classes in the morning, not having students study advanced calculus in the basement at 7 a.m. You want them studying advanced calculus in a daylit space at 10 in the morning.
Parents of teenagers? Yeah, she's right. The next area of best practice is energy saving in the building envelope. Energy savings can also be significantly improved by user education and behavior change, and we really believe that's foundational. For just $60, the Center for Green Schools can train and certify teachers on operating their classrooms safely and efficiently. We often do a training on schools after we finish renovating them, for example, training teachers not only about their sustainable classrooms, but the technology and the infrastructure as well. This allows the teachers then to be the teachers and pay it forward and teach future teachers about the facilities and why we do what we do. In the first do no harm category, our efficiency, we want to reduce energy demand by improving roof insulation, dual pane windows. We've had great success, for example, using a dual pane window with an integral blind, sandwiched and inverted between the glass, acting as a mini light shelf while it's being a blind. We can also take advantage with operable windows of passive ventilation. Our analysis showed that windows can provide adequate thermal comfort for approximately 30% 50% of the days that school is in session. With night purging, in our taking advantage of the cool nights we have here, we can delay turning on the air conditioning in the morning, and with the addition of ceiling fans, our big-ass fans, we can push that number up to 45% of the school days, where we can achieve a level of thermal comfort through passive strategies. But after that demand is reduced, we modeled a change from all the electric heating systems in the school to a variable refrigerant system with energy recovery. Any efficient HVAC unit will make a significant difference, though. How do we know how we're doing? Well, real-time energy monitoring, both as part of the energy management or EMS system and as a public display, demonstrates and monitors energy use patterns. Educated users are energy savers, and behavior can change immediately. Now that energy demand is lowered, and efficient and monitored systems are in place, the addition of PVs can bring the Trajan classroom to net zero. With these improvements in place, we're able to reduce the area of PVs required from nearly 800 square feet to just 485 square feet, or able to fit on the south-facing gable of the existing Trajan classroom. Reducing the EUI, the energy use intensity, is our goal. EUI, or in our case, predictive EUI, gives an apples-to-apples look at the total energy use of your building from all sources, electric, natural gas, utility-provided steam, etc., and converting it to kBTUs and dividing by square foot. Before the PVs, our EUI went from 45 down to 31, and then to net zero energy or close with the addition of the PVs. You can see at Trajan, these simple interventions were really significant. And finally, our best practices in water, specifically site-related water use and stormwater management. Behavioral change can significantly impact our water systems as well. Many jurisdictions have real-time monitoring available to you for hourly use, for hourly water use. So he's here, I think, but sometimes my husband will ask me if I went home for lunch. And I know he's been using his handheld to monitor our water use. So it's easy. Anyone can do it as individuals or as a school site. So additionally, educational signage can teach students about the water cycle. And in Sacramento, those creeks and tributaries and the pollutant-laden stormwater flows to our rivers and ultimately our drinking water. So it's important to us to ensure that education. Analyzing our existing site with hard pipe drainage to the stormwater system, unprogrammed turf spaces, and thirsty landscaping contribute to a predictive water use of 5 million gallons per year. But by limiting turf to only programmed areas, replacing landscape with drought-tolerant species, using smart controllers, moisture sensors for irrigation management, and even some rainwater harvesting for use in a student garden or outdoor classrooms, we can reduce that site water use by 2 million gallons. Stormwater mitigation can be significantly improved as well. Our model shows a predictive runoff of approximately 44,000 cubic feet per year. By improving the soil structure, introducing permeable paving, sheet flowing drainage rather than hard piping it, and creating retention basins and bioswales to retain peak runoff and allow infiltration, we can use stormwater to recharge the groundwater. Sacramento is the city of trees, yay, with more trees per capita than anywhere in the nation. Those trees are a valuable asset, and they provide much needed shade in our hot summers. They intercept stormwater, and they capture carbon. Even in drought conditions, we have to make those trees a priority. So separating them from the turf areas becomes an important way to use our controllers and our irrigation system more appropriately. Here's just a few examples of the beauty of drought-tolerant landscape and stormwater managing bioswales when compared with your traditional turf landscape. A combination of both of these is really required to do our best work on our school campuses. So these students are harvesting rainwater. The future, whether it is in gray water or black water harvesting and treatment, or something not yet envisioned, is one where today's students are the stewards. Together, we can all be part of that change.